Hey folks, David Stewart here. Let's talk about cameras in classrooms. This is an idea that's just been circulating around on social media. I think Tucker Carlson may have talked about it at one point. Cameras in classrooms. Teachers' unions do not want this. Other people want cameras in classrooms. Here's the thing. It probably won't matter as much as you think it would if you actually got cameras in the classrooms. But let me go a couple layers down here. So first of all, why don't teachers want cameras in the classrooms? Well, they'll say it's a violation of privacy. Even though they're in front of 30 people, there's nothing private about their lessons. Or it's a violation of the privacy of children. I've actually filmed myself teaching many times without filming any kids. I don't know if you knew that's possible, but if you're standing in front of a classroom lecturing, you can have a camera that is only on you and actually doesn't film any children whatsoever. That being said, most parents actually sign a release form that says their kid can be photographed, videotaped by the school, and that's usually for either, we're filming a teacher for, various different kinds of purposes, credentialing purposes or administrative purposes, or you're taking pictures of kids for like the school website or something like that. Not really like having a camera in the classroom all the time to observe what's actually happening. So is it really a violation of privacy? I don't think so. I think an actual violation of privacy would be, filming them at home or something like that. Now, part of my job involves having a camera on me, right? So I'm not in a private situation when I turn this camera on, and when people see me, it's an expectation. And indeed, it could be an expectation of your job that, other people are going to be observing you possibly with the camera on you. And then I think there are actually some, some old ethical, hypotheticals where you have people working in an office and you have an observer that's watching all the people in an office, but they can't see the observer. So they don't know if they're being watched at any given moment. This is sometimes used as a metaphor for, say, God watching you or something like that. You're not sure if you're being watched at any given moment, so you act as if you are being watched because optionality is towards that. So the idea that if you put a camera in a classroom would probably immediately improve behavior of the teachers, let's say, that's an old ethical idea. That's an old philosophical idea going back. I remember talking about this when I was an undergraduate. At this point, 20 years ago. Man, time flies when you're having fun. So if you put a camera in a classroom, teachers are worried about being watched and being observed all the time. They could improve their behavior on the job. They could improve what they're actually doing. They could slack off less. The truth is that although the rhetorical slam dunk for cameras in the classrooms is to protect kids from, say, teachers abusing them, molesting them, sexually harassing them, or something like that, it's actually much more mundane why you wouldn't want the cameras in the classroom, which is that more people will become aware. It'd be very easy to prove what most people know who've actually gone through school, and what most kids will communicate about their classroom experience, which is that most of the time in school is actually wasted. So you have a class period in high school, 50 minutes or something, and you're going to waste 30 minutes of it doing things that don't have anything to do with learning. Or teachers, passing out worksheets, not really teaching, things like that. And as a former educator, I could see the desire for the optionality, which is like maybe you're not having a good day and you just want to pass out a worksheet and not really do your job. But if you put a camera in the classroom, that optionality is somewhat diminished. Now, on the flip side of that, I'll also say that a good teacher, especially a young teacher maybe that doesn't have a lot of experience and is wanting to improve what they're doing, they will actually ask to be observed, especially by administration. If you are actually wanting to be a good teacher, you'll ask your administrator, you'll ask your principal, your vice principal, or whoever, learning director or whatever, to come in and observe you and give you feedback on what you're doing. And having been a teacher who's observed and been observed and observed others, the number one issue that teachers have is actually not their ability to teach. So a lot of people have this idea, if we turn the camera on, we realize just how bad teachers are at teaching. It's actually not teaching per se, but classroom management. And that is one of the things that you would see if you were to put the camera on all the time, is that most teachers who are poor teachers are not really bad at communicating the information necessarily. They're really bad at classroom management. That's the number one thing administrators are trying to fix. That's the number one thing they see when they observe classrooms is poor classroom management. What I mean by that is the inability to control 30 kids in a room and get them to do what they need to do to learn the lesson, to do an assessment or a test, do their work, or to just behave appropriately with each other. So being able to manage a classroom is basically a prerequisite for any amount of learning to happen in a traditional learning environment. You are not going to get any kind of special lecturing done. You're not going to get any expert communication of ideas done if you can't get the kids to behave themselves and you can't get the kids to basically adhere to the institutional standards of the school and the standards of the classroom, meaning, doing whatever the routines are. So if you can get kids on a routine, that's a big way that you would actually improve your classroom management. The kids know they have to come in and do these things. Teachers hammer home routines, as boring as they are, because it's really more about controlling the classroom than it is about communicating the information per se. So that's one of the things that you'd see as a parent, is you'd see that a lot of teachers really are out of control of the classroom. They're not able to manage kids' behavior. That's why they yell at kids, is because they are reactive. They're not proactive. They don't really have a good grasp of how to manage the classroom. And that's something that administrators can fix with observation, but teachers often don't want administrators to observe them because they don't want to get feedback that is basically like, you need to do this. This is not working. Why don't you change these routines? And if you're receptive to that, an outside observer, it's kind of like having an editor on your, on your book or music project or something like that. That outside observer can direct you to do things that you maybe are not aware of or don't know about, especially, beginning teachers don't have all of these skills just automatically ingrained into their psyche. You have to learn them or pick them up from somewhere. So that's the main thing you'd find. The other thing that you'd find if you still carried this illusion is that not all kids can be educated. You figure out by observing the classroom that the kids are also a factor in why education is poor. It's not just that teachers are poor. There's many good teachers in public school. It's really that you have a combination of teachers and kids. If you send your kid to a public school, not only are you out of control of what the teacher's doing, but you're also out of control of what the kids are doing to your kid and how the interaction's happening. If you have an incredibly disruptive kid, if you were to watch 7 high school periods and there's one disruptive kid, all of a sudden you find the learning is bad in that one period with that one kid who makes it really difficult to manage the classroom or has influence on other kids in a bad way. And you figure out that kid maybe gets all F's in all of his classrooms. Why is my kid failing? Must be teachers are bad. Well, it turns out that he is, in the wrong grade level, or he's got other behavior issues. He's got a bunch of things going for him that are stopping him from actually being able to learn. So if you had this illusion that all kids are educatable, you'd probably have that illusion dispelled. But the reason that I don't think it matters that much, going back to the very first thing I said, it's not going to matter that much, is because when it comes to education, we have a lot of people that have a religious commitment to the ideas surrounding education and public education in particular. One of those religious ideas is that basically this tabula rasa idea of kids, that kids are a blank slate, everybody can learn, kids are basically interchangeable, and differences in outcomes are due to other factors that can somehow be corrected by schools or by social welfare or something like that. That's a very ingrained belief, not just in the education system, but a lot of individual educators believe this. Rather than encountering a kid that's like, this kid is, he can't learn this material. And if you're a math teacher and your kid can't do fractions, he's not going to learn algebra. So it's like an impossible scenario. By the way, I notice math teachers tend to be much more realistic about what kids can actually learn and not learn than, say, English teachers. English teachers encounter a kid that can't read and they're like, I can teach him, and they put in a bunch of effort trying to, doing response intervention, all kinds of things to try to fix this kid, and it doesn't work. That kid is not going to learn that material. And that's just how it is. And it could be due to his intelligence level. It could be due to him in a bad placement. Could have had a bad teacher in the past and now he can't read now. It doesn't really matter, like, the reason. The main thing is that he's not a blank slate. Not all kids have the same learning capacity. Not all kids have the same experience. kids can't necessarily catch up to their peers. Usually the kids who are far behind have the least capacity to catch up to their peers because they're lower achievers in general. They're not, kids are not interchangeable. He's not a smart kid that didn't never learn to read for no reason. He was a kid that maybe was a little bit lower on, on the skill level and the intelligence level when it comes to reading, and just never received appropriate instruction somewhere along the way and got completely left behind, and is not involved in a program where he can actually learn. So kids are not interchangeable. That's something I believe. But that's something that's a deep ingrained belief in public education, as well as a bunch of ideas that, like, you need a professional educator, the list goes on and on. You got to socialize kids, which it's actually, when teachers say socialize, they mean making kids adhere to institutional standards, norms, behaviors, not friends. That's socializing, not socialization. Socialization's making them adhere to rules. So anyway, our cameras, if you put cameras in the classroom, great. It's probably not going to change that much. The people who are already critical of public education already knows what's going on there because they trust their kids to tell them. And the people who don't believe are not going to be convinced by evidence because they have religious beliefs involved. They will take that evidence and they will recontextualize it in 100 different ways in order to tell the narrative that they want to tell. Plus, you have things like the tenure system, which will basically prevent teachers from being fired no matter how bad they actually teach. So exposing bad teachers won't do anything really to them because they have tenure, and it would cost $1 million to fire them. People who think that the classroom doesn't waste lots of time, I guess you're not listening to your kids, or don't have any memory of classroom experiences. So I don't think they would change anything. That's my big point. To the people who are convinced by evidence, you've probably already convinced about the education system. And the people who aren't convinced by evidence are just not going to be convinced by video evidence. They just aren't going to change their tune. They'll be like, well, that's some bad apple, and the system's not bad, and homeschooling's still bad, and things like that. So anyway, that's my thought about it. As a longtime educator, I taught at the university level, taught at high school level, elementary school, middle. I taught at like every level. As a longtime educator, I don't think cameras would change all that much. Putting a camera in my classroom wouldn't change all that much to me. Part of it is I knew my administrator could come in at any time and observe me, so I always had something going on every day. Some kind of direction that I could take and get my kids going, no matter how bad I felt or how on my heels I might have been because of, say, lack of preparation or something on my part. Always put in the effort to try to do a good job because I didn't know if I was going to be observed. My principals came in all the time to check things out, and actually I thought that was a good thing because if there was something I didn't see, or they're like, maybe if you put in this routine, I think it would probably help with these like middle schoolers. Getting that kind of feedback, can help you improve your job performance and make the kids have a better time too. Kids don't have a really good time in a chaotic environment either. So anyway, there's that. Thanks so much. Leave me your thoughts down below about cameras in the classroom, and I will see you guys next time.